Hi, Zach and Jesse. I thought I'd give an example of what I do here, because at heart it's all about design, and intelligent design is all about minimum effort for maximum result. And so, having gone through the initial fluff wave of immediate inspiration, opportunities, resources kind of sit in the background, and what I look at is the question: how could the least amount of energy, time, money, and natural resources be turned into the greatest well-being and opportunity? Prioritizations are uniqueness, meaning if no one's doing it, it has more value than if everyone's already doing it. If it's easier to do, if it's more participatory, if it's more embodying, meaning it engages heart, mind, and body rather than just mind, and how to achieve multiple things simultaneously. And so we're starting from we're starting from a very core energy efficient concept, and it works like this. You have two people, each with a green screen. This is a green screen right here that have a profile that allows you to look side by side. Now this is beneficial in a couple of ways. You're supposed to look into the camera, not at each other. When having a conversation where the screen is behind me that way, I can be looking at you while looking at the audience because the camera is slightly before the screen. So both people looking forward in a green screen, a shared microphone protocol allows for, bilocation. This gives tremendous flexibility in having different guests on the show, creates the experience for the audience of being there, creates a lot of that experience with the hosts, and also is a very simple thing to send to a guest. Using Amazon, if we use it's good if both people use the same microphone. So if we settle on a decent microphone, like the one I'm using is a boom swing down mic right here. Whatever the microphone, if both people are using it, it's a $20, $30 microphone. Green screen, very easy to tack up on a wall with some lights. You can actually ship a package to guest hosts so that you don't actually have to travel to the host and to be able to have different people co-host the show, which creates flexibility and uniformity. The editor's job is to put a shared background screen and to put an interesting info feed. The exact contents of the interesting info feed on the bottom we'd have to work on, but to see how that could be done efficiently. But I'm sure there's a dimension that can be used in this bar if we try and beat the idea of a lot of the news companies that have the NASDAQ and stuff rolling across the bottom. There's stuff that can be done in terms of global news about well-being and sustainability. So that's a very simple thing that allows, in a conversational style, just about anything to be talked about in an hour. So doing a monthly show takes all the pressure off of it. So now there's this framework for a possible new channel. And so what's the most significant channel that can be talked about? As a starting point, I liked Intelligence 10X. And one of the things that I'm realizing is that if we can engage an audience in this process, we're actually teaching the audience how to think. Because design and intelligence are two of the core competencies you need to make good decisions throughout a lifetime, and we don't learn them in school. And so what intelligence teaches is the discipline of comparing multiple options, multiple values, and then measuring which one delivers the highest return on investment. And so Elon's using this with the choice to go with cameras over LiDAR, because he's saying superior data at lower price. And so that always wins and in the end. That's fundamental. That's what Buffett uses to pick stocks, etc. But it's not taught as a practical measurement for daily decisions. So having that be the subject, intelligence 10x or future 10x, etc., this introduces the paradigm of 10x thinking, where whatever you do, whenever you design something new, you aim for it to be 10 times better than the existing paradigm, the existing protocol for that area. If you're building a new mousetrap, how could you do a 10 times better mousetrap? And this stimulates creativity because you cannot do incremental improvement, and there is always a way to do something 10 times better. And so it's a whole, challenge to really think outside the box and compare things. It's an exciting idea. It generates momentum. Now, building on some of the ideas, if we have a competition, that is one form of engagement. So we're looking at ways of engagement. If we have 10 people researching in that competition for the most intelligent idea, the thing that is going to bring the most well-being personally, nationally, globally, per unit of energy invested. And I think that a great relatable metric is 520. That we're going to give you a show that is going to help you spend 5 minutes or $5.20 to have the biggest impact of anything that we can think of in the world. And we're going to have a competition to come up with that idea. So the competition is, multiple people asking the question, what is the biggest possible way we could impact well-being with 20 minutes and $5, and showing that as a mathematical equation rippling out. So this is the educational component, because for anyone to follow along this, they've got to learn how to think. So we have to measure well-being. We have to have a formula where people submit ideas and extrapolate well-being within that formula. And so that's one of the things I've developed, in happiness data is 10x, a 10x idea. And this was kind of predicated. I didn't have that many takers in Leaders of Thought because it's a very difficult question. But the question is, for anyone that wants to lead or, has a reputation in any area, is to ask them, what do you think is the single most intelligent idea based on it would take the least amount of energy to cause the most amount of good, and why? And to explain that equation, because that's a discipline in thinking, and it brings us into a collaborative format to kind of come to that peak idea. Now, the audience can be challenged to come up with a better idea than we've come up with, which is great because there's always a rebellious faction in the audience. So if you can engage and honor that rebellious faction, they'll go to work to increase the value of the show, because no one enjoys it more for the experts to be wrong. So that's the best thing that can possibly happen, is to, review the challenge into data and have some person write a long reason why we're wrong and there's a better idea, and to put that on the next show. Here's how we're wrong. What do you think? Is great. It's very un-American, so it again brings forth the thought pattern behind real leadership, which is not about ego. It's about letting whoever has the best approach, the best technology, take the lead gladly. Who wants to lead if someone else has a better idea? So that's kind of a general thought there. Now, participation. So so we have ideas, and we have an invitation for our experts. And I'm thinking of you're saying you got 100 people that are willing to spend 4 hours or so. Having them spend time to come up with their independent idea that they think is the best idea for everyone in watching the show to help participate in global well-being, I think is a great use for 10 or more people, 10 to 20 people. talking about those ideas and having them featured on the show. This is our researcher here. They looked at this data, and they came up with this idea for this reason. We go through it, and then we say what we think is the number one idea, and then the audience can vote as well on what's the number one idea. Now, another kind of way to participate, I think, and also fund the project, which I'm certainly happy to donate all my time, towards this. So I would see it as a non-profit function where, other than any fixed costs that need to be expended, and I'd like to see if the audience can help with editing and stuff in some instances, rather, and make this easy so that what we can really do is turn it into something that looks outward and, focus on, the globe as opposed to, trying to make money off of it. But sponsored messages of gratitude, I think that's a great thing where, 3 people a week can, fund $5, $10 or $10 or more, whatever, and have a message of gratitude that could be, great gratitude to mom, gratitude to a teacher, a message of gratitude from so-and-so, where you just see their photo, what they're grateful for, and they help to, to sponsor the show. Again, a teaching. Everyone's going to feel good. Enjoy. So then it's teaching. Gratitude does make you feel better, but you need to be exposed to that, something we don't see in most media, a message of gratitude. So I like that. I like honoring everyone in the community that's doing something and having a place on a website where everyone can list what they're doing. And have some metric where there's an honoring of, something that touched us in all of those, but that other people can see what others are doing to spark enthusiasm. I like that. Possibly a profile. These are always participation leads to commitment, leads to embodiment, leads to engagement. And the other thing that I think would be great for the show is to try and measure, a little bit like we talked about with Now You Know, is to measure the full impact of the show so that over time we can get some sense of a scientific sense of how many hours we've spent on the show, how much money we've spent the show, and how much well-being is created physically, emotionally, and mentally in all the different sectors that we touch. And what's the highest return on investment in that area, and having that be transparent, both for our own fun, but also for the community to feel like little bits of 20 minutes and $5 add up over time. Next would be the graphics contest, where every month we pick, everyone submits as many graphics as they want that illustrate a great point. So here's a graphic to show the scale. Like if, like a graphic, you talked about that $500 billion oil subsidy. So you could have someone does a graphic of how much, land that covers, how much $500 billion of oil covers if it was a foot thick, and how big, this is the oil covering the whole, area of the U.S., one whole state, a foot thick in oil, or whatever that, metric is that makes it more visual. So turning ideas, data points, into useful graphics from past shows, future shows, world-related things, with the idea of highlighting graphics that might become a meme and putting them out there where we pick our best graphic and everyone can share it to, text it around, etc., to see if that can become a useful meme, but also honoring the graphic artist and getting graphic art for free for the show, because cool graphics and stuff, again, they stimulate thought, they stimulate the right brain. People enjoy that kind of competition. They love being honored. We all have interesting ideas for graphic, and it'd be fun to send it in and then to see all the runners up on the web page where everyone's graphic gets posted and we feature one or give a kind of a first prize to one a month. I think that's a great participatory area. Now, The other component, because I think this is the most important, is the protocol of turning someone who wants to connect, wants to engage, wants to make a difference into someone empowered to do that with precision and confidence. And that's the training module. So on the website and linked under each show can be a set of training videos. Here's how to make a video. Here's a basic camera setup. Here's an expensive camera setup. Here's how to articulate an idea. Here's how to evaluate an idea. Here is how to measure well-being. Here's how to recruit someone else to this kind of group or show, etc. So you create modules of training videos that are there for anyone that wants to participate in any way so that they know how. Here's how to create a guest show, submit a graphic for our show. This is the best graphic software and stuff. So that someone who says, oh, I have an idea for a drawing, could look on the tutorial, click it, and they would find what free software to download, how to draw it on their tablet, how to do it with their mouse, where to go on Fiverr and order a graphic gig, etc. So that they're empowered to go from the idea into engaging with the show or engaging with life. And that we also have a challenge there. This could be another little show segment where anyone who wants to create a tutorial that takes someone who knows nothing and leads them completely to the process of knowing something useful can load up that tutorial, and people can vote on how useful it was and create. And I think I like the idea that this or better and this and. So rather than having this, well, what about this? Or why if this is even better? Okay, you do it. Make a video of that. And so that, that we invite the healthy competition element or the healthy critic element to turn critics into creators, where you don't just get to complain, but you get to follow a tutorial to do it better yourself. And then we can have a challenge or get feedback of which ideas are best. Now, some of the show topics that I think would be good contenders for this list would be how to become carbon neutral, how to measure your carbon footprint. Here's where you go to measure your footprint. Here's the cheapest place to send money to plant trees anywhere in the world. This kind of tree produces X amount of oxygen. You have to buy this amount of trees and you're completely carbon neutral for life. I think that's a great game for one show and, could be a finalist. So then there would be guests from time to time. And that goes back to this thing where we'd ship out a green screen. We'd send a microphone. We'd help them, follow a quick tutorial to set up a tripod in their phone and some lights against a wall in their house. And suddenly someone who's not particularly video or computer savvy is on a green screen showing up, live or recorded on a show, and they get to have a voice. So we can send that to, leaders in different fields and talk about their 10x ideas and their science and why. I think that'd be fun from time to time. That could be a Patreon phenomena where we show little clips and then the whole interview is available, on Patreon. Again, the rainforest idea, who does the best job anywhere in the world per square meter and GPS coordinates and all that. Trauma education, and why trauma is such a big deal. Live contests, I think, would be fun, where you can have live streams from time to time and people put ideas in, and then people can vote on those ideas. And this would be fun to have interactive things on the website where and I'll have to see what Devang could do to create it such that as each idea comes in, the one that gets the most votes is something we dive into. And we can also, with live shows, and this is fun, is say, okay, here's the idea we're running with. This is the topic, and we want to see who can do the most research while we're talking that's of interest to the show. And anyone who's got a research fact, click its link and where it's from, and we can start engaging with the audience live in that way, so that there's a little bit of a popping up of different facts and stuff for a live show. That's very, very easy to produce. It engages rather than sedates the audience. And then when we have certain ideas, I think it would be good to leave the audience with a let's make this happen. Let's have a goal. Let's have a goal that between now and the next episode, and we'll show the perhaps periodic updates, of how we're doing on that goal. Let's have a goal of could we make this idea happen? And it would be really fun to do it for particular people, particularly, pick someone that needs some help in the show and help them get something happening in a way that improves their lives, so that we're showing that the audience really matters, that, someone asks for help and can receive some help. But whether it's a make it happen, let's raise $1,000 to buy 10 acres of rainforest. That's our number one challenge. Or let's buy five, there's so many things like guide dogs cost $40,000 because they're trained by people in the US. What if we could start a guide dog school in the Philippines where rather than $40,000 a guide dog, it was $5,000 to $10,000 per guide dog, because the labor costs are so much, and we raise the money to start a school for guide dogs, and then watch it and see how many more blind people can afford a guide dog while simultaneously providing jobs in a third world country. So that's the kind of thing that I think would be fun to work on as a group, where and then we give roles. We say, okay, we need someone to find a guide dog trainer. We need someone who knows the best books on guidebook training. We need someone who can find a guide dog trainer that'd like to go to the Philippines. We need to find someone that has Filipino friends that, want to start a school like this. These are the different roles. Who's up for signing up for this? And then how did you do over the month? So that we work and learn as a community how to participate, to synergize, to each spend a little bit of time to make something important happen. And then finally, over time, I think it would be nice to invite people in the community to make a documentary about this whole project. How did it come about? Well, we had a Skype conversation. We brainstormed. Later that day, I had some ideas. Then this happened. Then we tried this, then that didn't work, and we tried this, then we did this, then we did this, and then that becomes a map to say, oh, that's how that begins, and people can learn from that. And then finally, I'm very big on app technology, and I'm looking for a way to both practice audience engagement and stuff in something like this, and simultaneously lead the way where it goes out of YouTube into an open source nonprofit app platform, which can be continually improved, so that remember that idea of, on the bottom of the screen, you should be able to press 10 cents, 20 cents, 50 cents, different things, say a quick hello, whatever it is, maybe link that to, you press $20 as a like, and you get your own gratitude message. So you press it, someone says, the app says, hooray, thanks for helping us so much. What's your gratitude message? And you click record and you say, I'm terribly grateful to my girlfriend for this, that, and the other. And then that automatically gets filed for the next show, because this is part of the programming. And we don't have YouTube censoring a video, or, this isn't monetized, or you can't, there's no place. We're never going to have a place where YouTube is going to let you set these kind of things up. But an app, you can set it up to experiment with what actually works. And so I want to fund the app. And so I want to put like 20% of donations towards building the technology that will make this and 10x more and more doable over time. So that's my idea. And the benefit of this, the upside of this, I think that it's reasonable to think that 1,000 people on the upside might actively participate, learn to think, start participating in creating well-being. If 1,000 people contribute an average of a dollar and an average of 10 minutes, so that's $1,000 in 20 minutes, or some 30 hours or something like that. Well, let's see. Yeah, it's over 100 hours of stuff. I think a momentum can start that reveals just how powerful it is. And that's the core underlying thing, proof of concept. To create technology that turns passive, lazy-making consuming of media into participatory, generous, muscle-building media that leaves you more excited and attuned, anxiously, or eagerly waiting the next month's program. And of course, if people get anxious and want to start submitting things, we can invite other people in the audience who are inspired, who have stuff to say, to make programs in between the month following this format, which means that it can grow that way as well, because everyone will do it a little differently and we'll all learn from each other's approach. And, this is just tons of fun. And so you have something that will take, it would probably take me, as half of the co-host or something, about 10 hours a month to play this role and invite things. And it's something that either of you could spend 5 hours a month or so co-hosting and helping to bring people towards this idea. And it's a starting point. So the idea with 10x design and all of this is that this is better, meaning for pretty much free, and a total of 15 hours a month of kind of hosting time invested, and maybe paying my assistant a few $100s to set that up and manage things on the website. An idea that could benefit 1,000 people that doesn't exist, that will give rise to yet better ideas in the future, because it's always this or better, this or better, this and. There's relatively no downside to something like this, other than the perhaps 5 hours or so a month for you, or the other co-host, and 10 hours a month or so for me, and just seeing what happens. So one idea, it's the best I've got tonight.